Good morning all. I'd like to get us underway here. First I'd like to welcome you all here in Miller's Corner. Also I'd like to acknowledge the meeting on the Perennic, land of the Perennic people, the elders past, present and emerging. We still have connection to this land and are very active through here. We've been privileged to be able to actually work with a number of young Perennic boys on doing some of this work here. So I'd also like to acknowledge my wife, Leah Parsons. My name is Graeme Parsons. We're co-founders of Miller's Corner. We basically, I'll just try and just give you a bit of a story about what is here and how it came into being. Leah and I moved here from Sydney around 28 years ago, and at that time Mount Barker was a small country town of about 9,000 people. It's doubled in size since that, and this block of land which we bought, which was on the edge of town, where we had there was horses up there and sheep out the back, got very quickly developed around here. So we had essentially 7,000 square metres right in the heart of Mount Barker, and we had a number of developers over the years knock on our doors saying, "Hey, can we buy your property?" And we want. I don't know. Those from South Australia are probably very familiar with some of the developments in Mount Barker, and they're not what I would call the type of buildings which I think we should be building at this time. So we then thought, well, look, if we don't sell to developers, what are we going to do? We lived in most in a large stone house over there. It was quite a dominating structure. It was hand built by the previous owners. So we looked around and thought, as people who are old and are growing older and wanting to age in place, we looked at what type of community we want to be living in. And so essentially, to cut a long story short with that, we ended up using a model of co-housing. And so this is a co-housing community, this is a community title. Everyone lives in a community title. You're sitting in the community facility. This is called Forest House. It was the first building we built. We thought that was really important to do because it actually is a centre focal point. So here we have opportunities for shared meals. Tonight people come here and play music and just sort of create the type of community which we want to be living in. So stepping backwards, you're seeing where we are now, but stepping backwards obviously there was a lot which had to go into in terms of subdividing the land, putting in the infrastructure, getting house designs and so forth. We used one architect to design all of the houses that you see here. In future, there will be another 2 houses there and there will be another 3 small houses out the front. The reason we did that was that we felt it was the quality of your living actually relates to the buildings in which you're living and the environment in which you're living in. So it was very important to have these buildings actually relate to each other. And none of them are the same, but they're all brothers and sisters, and they all relate back to the main house. You'll see steep roofs, you'll see balconies, you'll see high buildings. None of the lots are big. The largest is only 400 square metres. We've worked on the basis of using 1/3 footprint for the building, 1/3 for the front, 1/3 for the back. So you have a private space out the back, you have more public space out the front. And so when you sit out the front, what you see is actually magnificent gardens which are developing, but there's something you can relate to. They're not houses which are boxes next to each other and roofs coming down, which is the majority of the development which we're seeing out here. So we then looked at materials, and this we're getting onto the bit while you're all here. We looked at what materials we might use, and you're probably all fans of some of the television shows which look at the different types of building, but Mr. McLeod was inspirational in terms of finally deciding on hemp, because we wanted to look for materials which were both sustainable and also met the needs of living in the Adelaide Hills environment. Now, here it's not a normal summer here. You know, often we can have weeks of 37 degrees. I think we've had one day so far, but we do have cold winters, and so it was really important to have the right level of insulation, both in the walls and obviously in the ceilings. We did look at straw bale as an option, but you're looking at a much thicker walls and also the challenges of that. So ultimately we ended up with hemp. Well, ended up looking at hemp. This was a real challenge because when we first started building, it was in 2019, there were only 2 other houses of hemp in South Australia. One was in Crayford and one was our Dinga Eco Village. And we knew both people, and we were able to liaise with them, but just getting materials was virtually impossible. It wasn't grown here, it was illegal to grow hemp in South Australia at that point in time. So we ended up importing 13 tonnes from France. Now, that was, in terms of cost, it was actually substantially cheaper than anything you could buy in Australia at that time. It was around $1 a kilo delivered. $1,000
a tonne?
$1,000 a tonne.
For the herd?
For the herd delivered.
From Europe?
From Europe. Yeah.
Pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, yeah.
It's
so,
3.5, I'd say, at the moment.
Probably, yes. So I also want to acknowledge Ruth Trigg, because together with Ruth and Teresa McDowell from Hemp Array, we lobbied the South Australian government and got the laws changed in South Australia so you can actually grow hemp here. So it was a 3 or 4 year struggle to get that done, but in 2017 the laws were changed, and we had the privilege of sitting in the chamber and when it was going through. So that was, I suppose, all part of that journey to sort of create opportunities for a truly sustainable material. So then we had the challenge. We had the hemp. We had to find engineers who would actually be able to design the buildings for you, architects who understood it, and so forth. And also, how do you mix it? How do you actually work with it? So it was very trial and error to this early on. Every environment has different challenges in terms of using hemp to build. Our challenge here is it's always windy, and so I'm happy to show you. I've got a 750 litre pan mixer over there, 3-phase pan mixer. You throw 20 kilo bales in, and away you go. But you create a lot of hemp for the construction, and the wind was drying it out very quickly. So we were getting day joints, and really it was becoming.
Can we have a look at that, or is it dangerous to get?
No, you can have a look at it.
I'll get the snakes going
Yeah,
first.
no, there's no snakes here. So ultimately, for those, you're probably all quite familiar. It's really a very simple process in many ways, but it's complex in other ways because it's actually being sensitive to the material when you're using it, and that really only comes from experience. Understanding of when it's getting too dry, when you're having to add too much, adding additional water, and not having too much water because then you're losing your lump. The other challenge was that it was getting the binder for it. There's only really 2 on the market binders which are available, and none of them are based in South Australia. So just getting the volume of binder and stuff like that was also problematic. But look, ultimately, you've probably all seen these blocks before, but this is essentially, this one's been bashed around all the time. When it's in situ, it's a lot more stable. It's just really your binder, water, and your hemp herd, and that's it. we use the methodology of putting up, and this probably shows you. This one's actually used the Australian Hemp Masonry formula where they use sand. We didn't actually use sand in our building at all.
That's why it looks so heavy, wasn't it?
And that's why it's a lot heavier. Look, there's benefits, pluses and minuses of both these, and I'm really probably not the one to actually talk about it. But essentially, you've got your formwork on the outside. This is your frame, and this is a 300mm thick wall which you've got. All your electrical is done previously. You make sure that you've used galvanised nails and you've painted those with bitumen and stuff to sort of protect it. Although, having said that, I didn't find, I had tools which ended up getting left in the line and they didn't seem to have any reaction. So, one of so in terms of benefits of hemp, the ones which led us to make this the final choice of doing hemp was a the sustainability of it, that you can actually grow it. 13 tonnes. John, how many tonnes an acre or hectare do you get for? So to all of this here.
So we were in a crop this morning. It was 4 metres tall. It was probably not far off harvesting, and if it went 10 tonne total dry matter, 70% of that would be hurd, the inner balsam, the rest would be the fibre and the leaf and other.
Yeah. So on a very small plot, we would have been able to, if we'd been legally able to grow it, we would have been able to grow it locally. We did have someone over at Nan, just next door, who put in a crop of about 10 acres, and he couldn't keep the water up to it, so he lost interest. So look, with every new thing, there's going to be successes and failures and learnings. It's about determination to continue on and push through with it. So, so the sustainability was a really important one. I mentioned the insulative capacities and also the breathability. These walls, in terms of what is hemp here, you'll see this one, that wall over there, and there's a little truth window over there, the Celtic knot, which shows you the hemp which is behind that. And it's then being rendered over with just a lime sand render, and it was painted by the Grafenstein breathable lime paints. So this building is basically breathable. The other material here, looking internally, this was being done in the middle of COVID, so you don't, if you wanted choices, even now it's difficult with respect to sustainable choices, but then it was just about impossible, and we needed it. So you're looking at chip rock. These are birch ply up there. There's one slab which went around there, which was timber, which was from the site which we milled and several years previously, and so we were able to use that and then built this balcony area around that. The other outside, which is painted, is out of WeatherTex, which is basically compressed wood chips and natural oils, and it's about 99% sustainable material. So it was a focus, but ultimately you have to be pragmatic and get things built. It's a concrete slab. There's a cork floor over the top of it.
So percentage, 30% hempcrete in this building?
Probably about 30% in terms of, on the lower side it's about probably about 60%, but you also got the upper. It was a scaffold thing too far for us. Originally it was going right up to the top of the hemp, and we made a decision not to do that because none of us had the scaffolding licences and so forth.
And what we are going to see a house, what would be the most of one of the buildings we're seeing would be
this one over here, it's all hemp and stone.
Completely.
All the ground floor. and the upper floor is again WeatherTex, and that's the same. It's, hemp is not a cheap material to build with. You have to realise this. There's lots of people who will say it's ex-gold. It's probably, I would say, conservatively around $500 a face metre for a 300mm wall. By the time you render it, it's horrendously expensive to do unless you can do it yourself. The other challenge we had here was the curved wall, and this is one of the beauties of hemp. You make it, it doesn't have to be straight, square, boxy. You can have curves, and this beautiful wall here is, and I'll show you around the other side. When we were rendering it, we had frosts about 2 days a year. We had a -5 the day after we did the frost, did the -5 frost after we did the rendering, and the whole wall froze. And you had this dendritic pattern of the water, the frozen water within the render. So it's quite wonderful. So where was I? In terms of the actual, how do we get the team together? I suppose Matty Hardy and I both sort of learnt together on this, and we ended up becoming quite a good team. It wasn't like that to start, but we ended up becoming a very good team by the end. She's still quite involved with these fellows, it's she's probably the most experienced hemp construction person in South Australia. Some of the critical things about building with it is having a good carpenter or a good someone to get the shuttering up, because if you get that wrong, then you're really against it, because to get smooth walls, as you can see here, it's really difficult to come by and just sort of start building. You then have to start building up layers of render, and that's really problematic. So that's when you're investing in doing this, it's getting those basics right, and then the second thing is getting the mix right, and that was something which you become intuitive with it. In the end, you just sort of you can see how it flops around in the mixer, and as a consequence, you know that one's good. So you get an experienced person in the mix. For the rest of it, it's skills which basically anyone can learn within a day. And at the end of the day, you can go back and you can virtually see someone's personality by the way they put the hemp in. There's people like that, and then there's people like this, and that's exactly how they are. So, and that's not necessarily good, but what it does do is the important thing is in anything in life I've found is that people will respond and react when there's some ownership and when they've done something themselves. So this gorgeous little house over here, the girl who had that built got 15 of her friends up in the weekend and knocked out all the hemp in the weekend. So boom, it was done. It was all done differently, but it's quite forgiving by the time when you put your render on anyhow. You're not. One of the big challenges which I said was the wind, and so the day joints was a major issue in terms of aesthetics. So if you wanted a wall which was just you just left it unrendered, you have to do that wall basically in that day, or else certainly around here it's very difficult. The best time to do hemp actually in South Australia is probably winter. It's not even if it's a little bit, so long as you can keep the moist, keep rain off it. But in reality, the shuttering which went up, so this level here would have been to there. It would be a 600mm shutter, and which you could fill in. And what was the name of that? Anyhow, in getting that sort of bit done in the day, and then sort of trying to keep it, we tried all sorts of things, put wet cloths and sacks over it to water it down, but it's really difficult to stop it. stop the day joints. I mean, in different parts of the country it may work differently, but that was our experience with it. Look, I could probably go on for another hour on this, but I'm also conscious of giving people an opportunity to sort of talk, ask questions. What I suggest, maybe we have sort of 10 minutes question and answer time. Then we can go and walk around, and I can sort of, I'm happy if people sort of, we can sort of walk up and have a look a little bit closer at these from the outside.
We will be guided by you.
Yeah, so as a really high level overview, that was sort of where we sort of got to, and some of the reasons behind making the decisions for hemp. Ultimately, I think it's been a challenging but very satisfactory process. At the end of the day, when you walk in here, everyone sort of comments, it just feels so relaxing and peaceful, and that's what it's like living here. And I think that's really important. That when you live in wherever you live, that space is somewhere where you feel safe, and also feel that there's a tranquility about where you live. So look, I'll leave it at that. And as I said, there's probably lots of things. There's a little bit of a display here. This is sort of what we originally envisaged. So in 2015, I should say this has been a long process. The original subdivision went in 2012 and took 3 years to get it through council. So it's not, none of this stuff is
nothing unusual.
Nothing unusual, yes. And John's got an even more impressive supply. I went looking for a few remnants which I had, and obviously there's a lot more other products. There's the hemp oils, the beer, there's whatever. It's just a fantastic product, right. And just incredible hemp shirts, of course. I would really like to see hemp as really a mainstream part of our culture, and something which we
like it used to be.
Yes, like it used to be. Oh, the other thing was, we live in a very high fire danger area, and hemp is basically fireproof. So that was one of the other strong reasons for choosing hemp. So I'll open the floor to questions.
I've got one question.
Yes.
Over time, so say, I mean, you can't answer that now, but in 10, 15, 20 years, has one got it, or is there experience of what happens to a hemp wall? If it's kind of breathable, does it move at all, or is it, can one see how it endures over time, or what might impact it?
As you said, it's something relatively new. I mean, if you look, the one I always go back to is that place in Japan, which is 300 years old, and that looks like it's new, So
Hemp Creek building.
Yeah.
It's 600, not
600?
600. Okay.
Do I hear anything further? What about the Romans? Did the Romans build out of it?
No, they use lime structures.
Lime hemp.
They use lime.
Yeah.
So old.
It's old. So look, we certainly haven't seen any movement. There's no. I mean, you look at the walls. There's no cracks in them.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing you start to see. I think. I mean, one thing that obviously is really important is for it to really be properly dried before you put your render on. And that's several months. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
So, just to follow up, so you never had to do any touch-ups on the render side over the years?
No, on this wall here, there's one vertical crack, but it doesn't actually, it's a millimetre, it doesn't actually relate to anything particularly, but there is one vertical crack in there. It's really important to put your joints around the windows and things like that, or otherwise you will see some cracking.
And also, who was your architect then for the village?
Lucy Crawford. She's I think she had done a marvellous job in terms of being able to envisage the whole thing. I mean, we worked with her obviously as well, but in terms of bringing it together. But she doesn't do any architecture anymore.
Oh.
You did already. Have we got youngsters coming up then that are using hemp?
There's a number of architects.
There's a number of architects who do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's SA based and state.
Yeah.
Just had a question back to the community titling, because it's interesting how you get to realise the dream by the framework you put around it. So it's a community title with building covenants
Yes,
attached?
correct, yes.
So are they about hemp construction, size? You know, how deep are the... I'm just trying to think of how it plays out to
Look,
realise...
ultimately, when we put them together, we realised that we need to have some flexibility. I mean,
Yeah.
if we didn't even know whether hemp would have been available.
Yeah.
So there is any new building plans, and these people here are going to be building with hemp. So any new building plans basically have to come to the community corporate body and be approved. But it's also we have to listen to what people have to say as well. And if it's not available or no one can do it, we have to at least listen to what people have to say about it.
Good. So do people have to get accepted into the community?
No, it was all, we've never advertised, which is why people who live in Mount Barker don't even know we're here.
Yeah.
And it's basically, people have to go, they have to be looking for a different type of community.
Yeah.
And so when they do, they'll come here and then they'll find that they can't have their carport in front of their house because we have all the car parking out in front, and that's, or where am I going to put my boat? So it's self-selecting, and we've never said no to anybody.
So it's in the design.
It's in the design, yes, and it's in the we have the scheme description and bylaws which people need to be following and signing up to.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting process for creating community living.
Yeah. All right.
Seeing is believing. So we're going to go. So,
I was just going to ask, what sort of grievances did the council have with the original?
It's not particularly grievances, I don't think. There was, councils are basically inefficient, and you have, without going into all the details, you have someone working on it, she's pregnant, goes off.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't about
someone else comes back, and then it's like, oh, this is all too hard, it goes to the bottom of the pile again, and then you have to call up, and it just goes on and on and on.
Oh, so yeah, it wasn't
So
about the...
no, so long as you have your engineers sign off on it, council will approve it.
Okay.
But it's the unknown.
they're
I think
unknown.
They're unknown.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with something, it's too hard, so it does disappear. Now we're the flavor of the month. Now they bring people from other councils around there. Look what we did.
Yeah, they posted about it, yeah.
Fantastic things happening in Mount Barker.
Yeah, supported by the
Yes.
No, it's just planners are nervous about being criticised.
Graeme has to leave on the dot at 11:30. So I think we need.
So how are we going now?
It's 10:02 by my
Okay.
Queensland.
All right. Well, let's have a walk.
Can I just say something? I want to thank Graeme and the community for allowing us to come to this special place. I've had the privilege of being here once before, and thought it'd be great to promote it and showcase and share the love. I certainly live in a little village myself with 4 houses that have had hempcrete in them, parts of it over the last 15 years since I've been involved in hemp. I've just built my own hemp tiny home. So that was from Hemp Blocks, Australia. So I'm also an agronomist, so I'm here wearing my Agri-Futures hat, which is the federal government that was promoting hemp as an emerging industry. And so we have 9 trials all around Australia, and we've had 4 field days this week. So bear with me, we're on a roll. And tomorrow we're at Loxton, but we squeeze this in between the 3 others. So I just wanted to say, the program for the day, I think we need to know, is that we're here till after 11:30. We'll have a cup of tea before we go. We would like donations that's been provided by them today. We haven't charged for the day, so we would like you to make a $5 plus donation if you can. Sorry, we'll put a bucket or something out. We'll give it. Can I ask? Helpers today are Josh and Logan at the back, and Richard in the middle here. So ask them if there's anything going on, or just give them $50 notes. That'll do. They've flown in from Queensland, from like me. So they've been here before too. That's why they've come back, because they want to help be part of this program. I want to introduce Bernard from the South Australian Hemp Association. Mike is the president here, Mike Anderson in the yellow. He has Good Country Hemp at Bordertown, so he's growing the crops, contracting the grain, processing and selling. See him, he's your man. Am I allowed to say who else is here? We've got the university here, Rachel and Ben at the back, so they're certainly doing breeding and developing innovation in the hemp industry on that sort of thing, and it's great to see what they were doing yesterday. Thanks, Ben. It was late, but it was worth it. And we've got Vicura here, who you all must know, also, who are doing great, wonderful things. I had the pleasure of seeing one of their crops this morning, which is out the front here as well. So without going on, the program is, we finish here after 11:30. We're trying to get to the next venue, which is 12 o'clock. Is that what it says? 12 o'clock. At Bell Springs Road, Charleston. So,
That's a 20-minute drive.
I was told 15, but yeah.
That might be silent.
So that's a hemp building.
He drives pretty quick.
So that is a hemp building construction demonstration. We actually have panels being built on site. They're half built. They'll be put up and slabs and mixed for you all to get your hands into, which you want to do because it's sticky and the lime bites. Toxic. And we all have to be OH&S. Please be aware of that with hemp. It's silica. I just feel I have to say that because I've got the cough from the silica. So that's about on-site building. If you're going there, bring your own lunch, please. We haven't catered for lunch. Just grab something and bring it. And then after that, we're going back to the Charleston Memorial Hall because we can't go to the site. There's been a technical issue. It's a sewage farm. It's the farmer. It's a company. So there's been a hiccup there, and I do apologise. So what we're doing is going back to the hall after the construction site at say 1:30 or 2 at the Memorial Hall in Charleston, and I'll be giving a presentation on how to grow hemp, and that's what I do all week around the 9 sites, how we're doing the trial results. And we've also got the pleasure of the local farmer where we've done the panels. He's a soil biologist, regenerative ag, so he has all the soil food web and the soil biology on a huge screen. You look at the soil through the microscope on the screen. And as an agronomist, that just blows me away of understanding the soil, which we haven't done. So hemp is going to be a beautiful plant to be able to fit in and help repair the land. So we can do that with technology now that blows me away. And then if you're not sick of us by then, we're going back to the farmer's house for beers and pizzas. And he's baking the pizzas in the oven, and there'll be beers, and that'll be $10 or something. So bear with us, come and go, ask questions, and keep us on track by asking questions. Anything else, Graeme, or anyone else?
And just a comment, the residents here were all very excited about you lot coming and
we'll be back tomorrow.
Showcasing. And happy for people to look around, but please respect people's property and not going into the properties. That's the very
Is any pets or anything?
Pets?
Animal,
No.
No problem.
Can I just make one more comment? And I know Graeme's alluded to this, but also to honour Leah and Leah's work in the collaboration in the construction of this. Yes, it is about building, but it's also about human community. And both Graeme and Leah have got a really well-developed professional belief and attitude about that, and that's been built into this whole project as well. And if you need to know more about that, then Leah probably is the one to come and talk to, but both Graeme and Leah have created that as a foundational part of this whole project. So it is human-centred, how humans live together well, and that can disappear when you're looking at the structure of the building. So I want to honour Leah's professional work in that field as well.
This world needs that more and more, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Losing it. Any other questions? Mate.
Just comment, John, you said I was the
President?
president of IASA. I'm not technically the president. I'm
What are
member
you?
of the executive committee along with Adam here
Adam?
and also Mark Catalano. If anyone in the room isn't a member of IASA and you'd like to support the Australian hemp industry, please go to the IASA website and become a member. It costs $50 for just a general member, or you can become an executive or a corporate member as well. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out and just fills you in on everything that's happening in the South Australian hemp industry, but also on a national level as well.
So can you say something at the national level?
Yeah, so IASA is basically affiliated with the AHC, which is the Australian Hemp Council, and I'm on the board of the AHC. It's a 7-member board, one from each state. So all of the goings on in the South Australian hemp industry are represented on the national level at the AHC. We meet once a month. And also the information on the national level comes back through IASA and to all the grassroots members.
I really appreciate the time these volunteers, I'm getting paid, not today, but mostly. Mick's a volunteer, he was at the field day yesterday at Whoop Whoop at, Coonawarra, and, they turn up, Bernard, they do this in their own time, so they're promoting the industry. So it's your village, it's the people in the village, it's everyone in the industry trying to help move it forward. And we just need that working together more than individually, and that's, any emerging industry has those ups and downs, so I just hope this can be an example of working together. So I thank everyone for your time.
And to speak about it widely. Just keep talking about it.
But this will be podcasted. This is going to be, if no one turned up today, we were still going to record it and put it out there on the Hemp Proof or the Australian Hemp Council, whatever, your site, to promote it. Educate. People just got no idea. No idea.
And last thing, before we finish off, also acknowledge the work that Bernard has done. Bernard has done instrumental work in continuing committees as they change. Graeme and I were on the initial committee, we're now on it, and Bernard has been the link that's kept all that moving along. So his structural work has been phenomenal. It would have fallen apart many times if Bernard hadn't done his contribution.
It's almost embarrassing to declare myself as a committee man, and it's not really true.
Yeah.
That's what it might look like.
But we know the work you do, Bernard.
Here. Anything else? Because we're going to, you've got half an hour. Great, we've got half an hour, so that's enough. Do what you're going to do. And then we'll come back here.